Hello everyone, this is AndresRestart, and today we are talking about how Zelda's 40th anniversary, which will be happening in mostly 2026, is looking to be even bigger than what we initially thought. And some of this comes from some recent news we've gotten about the live-action Zelda movie, but then when we take into consideration all of the implications, I think this says even more about Nintendo's overall Zelda plan moving forward, what they're going to do with Zelda throughout the Switch 2 era, and this, yes, does relate to some big games as well, I think, and so there's a lot to get into today. But before going forward, let me take this moment to point out that I am aiming to reach 50,000 subscribers by the time the Switch 2 launches, so if you find yourself enjoying my content, I would appreciate it if you could subscribe and hit that notification bell. So the first little bit here is that on March 28th, the first full day that the Nintendo Today app was out, Nintendo made sure to have a banger announcement, and that was The Legend of Zelda live-action film will be released worldwide on March 26th, 2027. So, a little bit less than 2 years from now, we will finally get to watch the live-action Zelda movie. But this was just the beginning of the information here. We got some other reports, which, of course, are not 100% confirmed by Nintendo themselves, but they are being reported by some credible outlets, such as Video Games Chronicle, and basically, the Film and Television Industry Alliance has this productionlist.com website listing saying some very interesting details about the Zelda movie. And so, the shooting dates for the movie are set for between November 4th of 2025 to April 7th of 2026, and it will be taking place in New Zealand. So, what you may find very interesting about this is that the Lord of the Rings movies were also filmed in, you guessed it, New Zealand. And so, given that this is a live action, just like the Lord of the Rings movies were, that this is Zelda, a medieval fantasy that is a similar genre to Lord of the Rings, and there have been many comparisons drawn between the two over the many years. Even Twilight Princess shared a lot of inspiration from the Lord of the Rings movies. This, I think, is a very exciting premise here. Now, that doesn't mean that the Zelda movies are going to be exactly like the Lord of the Rings films. I think most likely Nintendo is going to take things in a bit of a different direction, but they may indeed be trying to capture a little bit of that Lord of the Rings magic here by doing a fantasy medieval live action in New Zealand. But this website has a summary of the project, a synopsis. A live-action adaptation of the video game franchise The Legend of Zelda follows Link, a young warrior destined to protect the magical kingdom of Hyrule from the forces of darkness. The land is under threat from Ganon, a ruthless warlord who seeks the Triforce, an ancient relic said to grant limitless power. To stop him, Link must embark on a perilous journey, battling monstrous creatures, exploring treacherous dungeons, and solving intricate puzzles to uncover sacred artifacts that can aid him in his quest. So reading through this summary, it's essentially a basic understanding of how the general Zelda game tends to go. Link, a young warrior, versus Ganon, who's threatening the entire land, who seeks the Triforce, and then they make mention of battling giant monsters and treacherous dungeons and intricate puzzles and trying to find sacred artifacts. That's all very Zelda. But I do think this can give us some insight into what to expect from the movie and how they are going to structure things here. Link is likely going to go on some sort of quest to acquire different relics or artifacts that will help him against Ganon ultimately, and these relics will be in dungeons that will have intricate puzzles and crazy monsters. But there's another key element to this that's being suggested here by someone worthy of note. So apparently, movie industry insider Daniel Reichman has claimed that Nintendo and Sony Pictures are planning a potential movie trilogy for Zelda. According to Reichman, all major acting roles will be signed for 3 films planned over 6 years. That is extremely exciting. The idea that we're not only going to get 1 movie, but 3, and they're planning this from the beginning, which, by the way, The Lord of the Rings, also a trilogy. So there might really be an intent here to really capture a similar level of magic compared to that Lord of the Rings trilogy. And to tell you the truth, for many years, I haven't really seen any sort of trilogy that I have found comparable, at least in that genre. So if Nintendo and Sony Pictures can put something together here with Zelda that's somewhat similar to that Lord of the Rings trilogy in the early 2000s, that would be an incredible feat. But if they are planning this from the beginning, that means the actors that they are hiring with them in mind for the next 6 years or so, which might even mean the first movie could start off with Link as a younger Link, and they are going to hire someone who is growing, and the intent may be that by the time the final movie comes around, the third movie, we will have an adult Link. So we could see like a young Link, a somewhere in between Link, and then adult Link in these 3 different movies. That is a possibility. Of course, personally, I would simply prefer that they just go with an adult Link from the beginning, a young adult, but still an adult. And if they want to include young Link to make reference to that, then they simply hire a different actor and show them during some small flashbacks here and there. But something else to consider here if they are going for a trilogy, this would mean that in the first movie, Link is probably not going to defeat Ganon, but I would hope that they still have Ganon involved early on. Maybe there is a chance meeting, because I think it is important to build up a rivalry and relationship between these characters throughout the story. That'll make the ultimate final battle all the more meaningful. It's one of the reasons why I think the final battle in Ocarina of Time is one of the best, because it is a duel between Link and Ganondorf where there was a bit of a relationship built throughout the story. But what does all this Zelda movie stuff have to do with Zelda's 40th anniversary? Because Zelda's 40th anniversary is in the year of 2026, and this live-action movie, the first one, is not coming out until March of 2027. Well, if the movie is coming out late March of 2027, that would mean that they would have to start advertising the movie with actual footage of the movie, like actual trailers, in the year of 2026, so they can use part of the Zelda movie to help celebrate and excite us during the 40th anniversary. But also, the theory on Zelda's 40th anniversary is that they are going to go a bit bigger than usual. If we take a look at how Nintendo handled Mario's 35th anniversary, they had a September Direct, literally on the Mario Bros. Anniversary, and they announced a variety of Mario titles to come out, and the anniversary celebrations did not end until early into the next year. And so, in other words, we already have some history where when Nintendo has had major anniversary plans, they span a period of time and they can trickle into the early parts of the next year. And it's for this reason I was actually theorizing that the Zelda movie would be coming out about a year after the next Mario movie. The next Mario movie is supposed to come out April 2026, so I was actually theorizing that because there are the 40th anniversary plans and they would want to tie the Zelda movie into those anniversary plans to some extent, with the advertising at least, that they're probably aiming for the Zelda movie to come out a year later. And we just got the announcement that the Zelda movie is coming out late March of 2027, so it's actually coming out a little bit sooner than what my theory was suggesting, but for the most part, it's kind of on the right track here. Which just gives me a little bit more confidence in terms of my overall thinking of what Nintendo is planning here for Zelda's 40th anniversary. And what I've been thinking is that Nintendo is going to open up the Switch 2 generation with 2 big anniversary celebration campaigns. In 2025, it's going to be about Mario, because this is Mario's 40th anniversary, and every 5 years Nintendo does some sort of anniversary campaign for Mario, Super Mario Bros. And with Mario Kart and 3D Mario both likely coming out this year, it's easy to foresee them doing something like that. Not to mention, we have the Mario movie coming out early next year, so as I already discussed, this idea of starting the marketing campaign, advertising the movie throughout the anniversary, and the anniversary plans ending early into next year with the movie coming out at the end of that, it all kind of makes sense. And so I think this big push with Mario will help the Switch 2 generation. But I also think Nintendo has Zelda in mind early on for the Switch 2 generation as well. And so I think they are going to use 40th anniversary celebration plans for Zelda to help push Switch 2 in 2026, that second year, which is very important as well. Consider this for a moment. In the March 27th Nintendo Direct that just happened, Nintendo announced at the end, Shigeru Miyamoto came out, who is also producing the Zelda movie, by the way. He announced the Nintendo Today app, where they're going to be sharing daily news moving forward. And literally the next day, the first full day of the app that it's out, their first announcement is the live-action Zelda movie. But another element that I haven't mentioned yet to this Today app is that it was also discussed by Miyamoto that following April 2nd, they are going to be talking about Switch 2 through that app with frequency. But what's interesting is that they've already been using the app to hype up Switch 2 already. Every day they have the Switch 2 countdown. They are already doing the Switch 2 marketing. They are talking about the Switch 2 Direct. They are hyping up this event. There has never been a Nintendo Direct that has been more hyped up than this one by Nintendo themselves. And so really all I'm getting at with this point, at least in reference to the conversation we're having today, is that Nintendo has Zelda involved with their plans here. They are using Zelda to hype things up, get us excited. That's why they announced the Zelda movie release date with the Nintendo Today app. They want people on the app. They want people following the app for all the Switch 2 news. It's all connected. And so let me make myself clear when I say that it looks like Nintendo's 40th anniversary plans are even bigger than we thought. We're already seeing a decent amount of evidence that Nintendo is using Zelda to help push the Switch 2, even if there isn't a Zelda game that's been shown yet. But with this premise of there being a trilogy of the live-action Zelda movie being filmed in New Zealand, that draws a lot of comparisons to Lord of the Rings, which I think fills me with more confidence and perhaps others that this Zelda movie or Zelda trilogy is going to be an even bigger deal than we thought, and will definitely be a big piece in inspiring a lot of intrigue in Zelda and Nintendo in the year of 2026 for the 40th anniversary plans when they start to market this movie. And so that will also directly impact Zelda sales and Switch 2 sales in 2026. And we've already talked about how we think there's probably going to be some sort of major 40th anniversary Zelda game release. It is very early for us to expect a brand new 3D Zelda from the ground up. They did just finish Tears of the Kingdom. It came out last year, May 2023. It hasn't even been 2 years. Now, we have speculated that we could be getting close to at least a Zelda teaser for the next new 3D one, because we have seen them teased 2 years after the most prior one, like in the case of Tears of the Kingdom. They teased it June of 2019, 2 years and 3 months removed from the release of Breath of the Wild. So we are getting kind of close. Maybe we see something in the Switch 2 Direct about this. But the game is probably still not coming out in 2026. It's going to need some years, even if we do get a teaser for this game in the not-so-distant future. In the meanwhile, though, I think Nintendo's going to need something to tide us over. As we discussed quite a bit, I think they are going to remake a game. Not remaster, remake something more grand, more ambitious, something that will make the game look like a proper, modern game. And we've theorized that the most likely one would be Ocarina of Time. And it does seem like Nintendo agrees, because they have been using Ocarina of Time with the Zelda Lego set, for example. I think there's a little bit of a build-up there. Consider all the Mario Lego sets and how that built up to the Mario movie. Now we have the Zelda Lego set, it's involving Breath of the Wild and Ocarina of Time, and we are progressing towards the Zelda movie now. I think there is a connection there. And I've already discussed in the past on 2 different occasions Aonuma has hinted at something Ocarina of Time happening in the not-so-distant future. And Aonuma has been known to tease several Zelda games before they are announced. So I do think Ocarina of Time is our best bet here. I think Ocarina of Time is going to be remade for the 40th anniversary, and we are going to see it come out in 2026, and it will tie into the Zelda movie. I'm not saying it's going to be an Ocarina of Time movie, but Ocarina of Time is arguably the most iconic Zelda game. It has Link in the green tunic, and with this first movie, they're probably going to want to portray Zelda in a way that's representative of its foundations. And so having a game that closely aligns with that coming out in 2026 will certainly benefit that. I think they'll actually benefit each other. And so hearing about these movie plans, and how the movie is coming out sooner than expected, it seems to further support my thinking of what they are doing for the 40th anniversary, and that they are going bigger than expected when we hear that they may be going in the direction of a live action that is a trilogy being filmed in New Zealand. Very Lord of the Rings like. But what do you all think? Let me know in the comments below. This is AndresRestart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.